What's good, historians? Welcome back to Black Tampa Historians Podcast, where we will be spilling the tea on Tampa's Black history. I'm yours truly, Ashley Morrow, and today we are sitting with Jamila Davis. She is a local tour guide who conducts nighttime Black history tours in downtown Tampa. What's good, Jamila?
What's up, Ashley? Thank you for having me on your podcast. I've been looking forward to this. So let's wrap.
I'm happy you are here. We tried to record this a week ago, a whole week ago, and we had some audio issues on my end. That was on me, and so we're
And it was
kind of.
good too.
It was
It was
really good. It was really good, and
That's okay.
it
That's
was
okay.
on me. I'm playing with my audio, trying to get fancy, and needed to sit down.
And messing up. But
Yes,
it was good
we
though.
did have we
Yes.
had an amazing time. So we decided to come back. We're actually we've kind of gonna focus on a few things and then just
Okay.
work our way out from there. Because like last week, we were able just to go out all in all these different directions because like my good sister Jamila, she loves Black history in Tampa and she does these tours. And she's gonna tell us about them. So tell us about these tours and how they got started with you.
Well, how I got started into researching Tampa Black history is that um from like 2003 to 2009, I worked at the Tampa Housing Authority. And so that was back when North Boulevard Homes was still there. The high rise looked different. Central Park Village was still there. And they had this huge mural of what the redeveloped area was going to look like. And we were just in the process of moving everybody out of Central Park, and it was getting ready to get demolished. And I kind of, as a group, we wanted to do something to talk about the history, of Central Park and kind of tie it into like this new theme that you see today. And so I just started researching about it, and I just was so fascinated about, Tampa's Black history. And so jumpstart from there. I left the housing authority and I started working for the federal government. And every February we would do this Black History program. And so when I got involved with it, one of the things that I wanted to do was like tie in the history of the federal government into Tampa's Black history. Like, what did that look like? And I just found like all these like amazing facts about it. And so I'm like super nosy. Like I just want to know stuff. And so I would just start going back to like the actual addresses where things were and kind of like recreating, because we know there are no photographs. There's not a lot that kind of chronicles Black people during that time. And so you really had to like find out little things and kind of put it back together. Some of the streets have been cut off, but some are remarkably consistent. And so that's how I kind of got into it. So whenever people would come to Tampa to visit, I would take them down and be like, oh, this is where this used to be. I would give them kind of my own tour. And so people I knew would be like, hey, you should like do this. Is it, there's, kind of something different. And one thing about me, like I sweat it is not cute. So I knew I didn't want to do it in the daytime. And I thought, there could be a good option for something to do at night. I mean, sometimes you want to party, but if you're visiting Tampa, you're doing something. I mean, maybe not every single night, or maybe you could, chop it up a little bit and, do something cultural, educational, and then, do the club, the restaurant thing or whatever. So that's how kind of I got into it. And so, yeah, so that, and then of course, through that, I got connected with Ashley and other like Black Tampa historians, and it's a whole vibe.
Yeah, so I found Jamila through or she found me or I found her through social media, Instagram. Social media is amazing in connecting
Ain't it? Ain't
people.
it?
So many things can happen. It's almost like alchemy. Like you just put two
Yeah.
and two together. These two people can create these things, or
Uh-huh.
these three people, or these organizations, and everybody can operate in their own space, but working together, they have just a bigger reach. So it only makes
Yeah.
sense to work with other like-minded people like Jamila, and that's why I really wanted to speak to her and bring her on here so she can share her Black history knowledge and magic with us. So we're gonna jump to the first question. Can you discuss any specific neighborhoods here in Tampa or areas within downtown Tampa specifically, since that's your expertise, that have been effectively wiped out?
Yeah, I mean, I love this question, and we have gotten onto this question like a couple times through our rabbit holing when we start talking. One, I mean, I think people know there's a lot of people of Tampa in that age group that remember the scrub, and they remember what that was like. But I think it's really kind of like a little known Black history fact about the Garrison. And the Garrison is kind of in that area where Channel Side is. And if you go to Water Street, there's like a sign there that probably nobody pays attention to and don't know like what it means. And it says Garrison. And so that area was called the Garrison. And initially there were plots of land that were owned by Black people, like large plots. And initially everybody kind of homesteaded, came to Tampa, and you just staked, you were able to stake your claim. But then it became very litigious after a while. After the city of Tampa was defined, that was very attractive land. And so it just became a real legal fight. So, but in the end, you had Black people that were able to walk away with, legal paperwork saying that they own land. And not only the Garrison, but Dobyville. I mean, like, the Dobyville is something that people could not imagine that there was a whole section of Black folks in South Tampa. I mean, it's just amazing. And so it's not something that people just have common knowledge about at all, but they
Right.
should.
Right. And walking on your tour, you actually shine a light on a man named his last name was Roach. I want to say
Yes, Richard Roach. Yes.
Richard Roach. And if you go on the tour, you're going to learn the story about Richard Roach.
Hmm.
But he owned a home just outside of Tampa, and that area I learned it was also an area that had Black inhabitants because it wasn't as tidied up as the main area of Tampa. So like Miss I don't know if anybody's watching here knows Miss Frances Jennings. Miss Frances Jennings went to Blake High School, and she said that she used to live along the river, and they used to
Mm,
call the Black people river rats because they lived
wow.
along the river, and they made fun of them. But she's like, whatever. She didn't really care. But they had that waterfront property up to where like Madam Fortune Taylor's land was, Robert City. They
Wow.
lived on the water, and they said when it when it flooded, the water came up to their homes. So there were people that lived on Fortune. There were people that lived on those streets, like you were saying,
Because
where
Ashley would have been like the street that was right on the water at that
mm-hmm.
time, right? I
It
think
went.
so.
They lived all along Fortune. And as like you were saying, and when I put two, it helped me put two and two together when you were talking about Richard, and that happened back then. But Black people stayed along that street. Like there's been
Yes.
conversations, even with them wanting to reconnect the city by removing that entryway from Ashley on the 275. They want to lower that and reconnect that area where Armature Works is to downtown. They want it to be more easily
Oh.
accessible. They want to reconnect it.
Mm.
But um, it's not, the neighborhoods are not the same anymore. Like it's not
Right.
reconnecting that Black neighborhood that was what once Tampa Heights, and now that area where Miss Jennings used to live. Along the river, and that she said that was called, I forget what the name of that area she was called, but it's not the scrub, but it's over closer towards where you're going on Fortune
Towards the
Black.
downtown area,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we
Yes.
do know from like the old census and directories that that was definitely residential.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at it, it was mostly there were some white people there,
Mm-hmm.
but it was initially very integrated, and then predominantly Black, like
Yeah.
along that part of downtown. So if you're listening to this, think about where the hub is, where Tampa Theater is, and
Mm-hmm.
along kind of that portion going back towards Central Avenue. That
Mm-hmm.
would have been the part that was residential where a lot of Black people live. But I did not know that it was all the way back to like where the water, if you go all the way down towards the Strads and everything.
Yes, yes, yes. I didn't know that either until she told me.
Wow.
And I really wish I could get her on. I know she's really busy, but you need to talk to her too. she's a great person to
Yeah.
talk to too. But
Yes.
she a lot of these elders here, this is just the life they live, and I'm like, we need to talk, and like just to
And
have
I
all these
love that you do
conversations.
that, like on your podcast and on a lot of your postings where you're talking to like people that have these like, first person memories
Mm-hmm.
of how things used to be. Because as we were talking about before, you are not going to find that documented anywhere. It's not in, old Tampa Tribune
Right.
papers. It was before the Florida Sentinel.
Right.
So we just don't have that historical record. So the oral history becomes, super important.
Very much so. I remember when I was looking when we had Gasparilla, I want to say last year, and I had just started this page. I want to say the year before or something like that. No, that same year. I started last year, and I posted something about like Blake High School was showing on the news, and I like screen recorded it or whatever, and I posted it, and somebody just nonchalantly put in the comments, and I'm gonna see if I can find it. One second. She just nonchalantly put in the comments. Oh, here it is. She says talking about a full circle because I posted this January 29th of last year, and
2023.
so 2023. Yes, and she posted to Sylvia Salter. If she sees this, hey, talk about a full circle moment. I think it was 1966. Blake was invited for the first time to participate in Gasparilla Parade. Only we were the last band or anything in the lineup. By the time they told us to start, the parade was over. Everybody had left the parade route, but our parents and friends. So I've heard that account. I've heard it was raining from someone else too. So like it's that's not in a
Wow.
book anywhere. Like, but
No.
she's like this history is here, and we just have to document it.
Yeah, we
So
do. Because if we don't, it'll be lost. But,
yeah,
the next generation, they just won't even, have, they won't, these people won't even be accessible to them.
right.
So,
So
yes.
yeah,
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah. Me neither.
Damn, you
Me
been
neither.
practicing. You've been all dressed up. You've been working on the music and the moves and everything. And you
Girl.
finally get your chance in a parade.
Their parents was out there, but like, yeah, that she said it was 66. And she said she believes, so I definitely want to follow up with her and see like if we could pinpoint what the actual date was, and that would be really cool. But just to go back to the question about these neighborhoods that have been effectively wiped out, having those firsthand and personal accounts, the garrison was somewhat still around during some people that are still living today.
Oh, really?
Yes. So
Really?
like there were people before. Okay, the Amelie Arena was there. People have recollection of people living in that area. Still,
Wow.
yeah, they still have recollection of people living in that area. Where like it's not as it wasn't as busy. I don't think because after a while, like how we see the scrub, those type of homes were in the garrison. But I think
Yeah.
that was one of the first like effect. Like that's one of the places that kind of got wiped out first. I want to
The
say,
garrison.
because it's
Yes.
close to the docks, and they see the
Yes.
value in that. So
Yes.
it's
A
like,
prime real
yeah,
estate. Prime real estate.
yeah. And when I say
Yeah.
they, I mean like the people that want to wipe out black neighborhoods. So they saw the value in that space. So those homes I think were the ones that were first wiped out. And
Right.
then you start going up towards the scrub, and then those left. But what Tampa Housing Authority has done is they have come in and they're kind of making that space, and I commend them. They're making that space still accessible to people that could not afford
Yes.
to live that close to downtown, and that's still important.
Yes. Yes.
So what do you feel
And I
like?
think
Yeah.
no. I mean, it's true. It's like, when we talk about gentrification and everything, I mean, it is important that diversity is important. And it's not just like racial diversity, it's economic diversity. So you learn from other people that are not like you. You bring other,
Perspectives.
recipes, mindset, religion, culture, practices. I mean,
Yeah.
everything. We benefit from that. So there is a benefit for people in all, status groups, socioeconomic status groups to have an opportunity to live in a desirable location.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And so that makes me think about like Dobie too, because when we talk about the garrison, we're talking about people that came and they homesteaded. They were here, they were taking care of the land, and then it became like a legal battle because it was so valuable. But if you look at Dobieville, we are talking about a black man who like delivered ice, y'all. Like he was not rich. He
Right.
had to be super good with his money. Like I wish I knew like what his secret was. I mean, so he like was really good with his money, and he bought tracts and tracts of land in South Tampa.
Right. You have to
For
be.
can you imagine?
Yeah. No, like, and not to say it was easier back then to buy land, but you have to have such great foresight and just
I
the
mean,
vision and be not selfish with your money. Like, I want to enjoy my money. Like, you have to
yes,
be thinking like my family and generations ahead of me, and put money and land aside for them and that, and a like a
yes.
cemetery, like, and all that stuff. Like, you have to be so, you just got to take one for the team. Like that's
I
really
mean, and
you.
discipline to a fault. Can you just
Yeah.
imagine how disciplined you had to be with
Right.
every quarter, every dime to
Right.
say, this is the kind of legacy that I want to leave. This, I mean, because
Right.
okay, so think about it. The reason why he wanted to create Dobieville is because women primarily, but men too, were having to get from the scrub to South Tampa
Right.
to work because
Right.
most of them were domestic. So like y'all thinking I can hop on the streetcar, I can hop. No, you talking about people walking
Right.
from the scrub to South Tampa back and forth every day. Can you just imagine what that was like? It wasn't, some parts of it were still kind of, like overgrown, unkept. I mean, and
Right.
then you're having to navigate all of that. There aren't traditional roads and streets, a lot of dirt, dirt roads, there's horses. You're having to walk
Right.
back and forth every day. And he saw that having, people being able to live in South Tampa would help them out in all aspects of their life. Just being able to spend time with your children, raise your
Right.
children, your family, just everything about the community.
We're back, and we were talking about how Dobie had to be unselfish with his money and create safe spaces for these families. And Jamila was just telling us about how he was just a great family man, and he really just had that foresight to just invest in them. So how what's your perspective on that, and being a mom and just being somebody with a family?
Yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine, having to go to work and just walk. I don't know how long it would take to get from the scrub over to, South Tampa back then, and then work tirelessly all day long for another family, whether you're being a nanny, a housekeeper, all that entailed during that time. And I'm sure not being paid on the level in which you deserve and what you should earn. And then having to walk back home. You have children of your own that you've entrusted to the care of probably, an older sibling. You're not there. But in addition, he thought about everything how people could be benefited from by living in the community in which they work. But then also he had like you said, the presence of mind to think you need a church, you need a school. I mean, he was able to buy and acquire land for all these things so that people could be whole in the community in which they lived. And that is a game changer as far as being able to keep the family unit together. Husband, wife, children, your mother-in-law, sister. I mean, just imagine how your family unit is impacted when you actually have time to spend together, and that you can band together as a community to make sure that you're educated and you're fellowshipping and all of these things that matter. So, I mean, he provided such an advancement for the Black community at that time, probably in a way that he personally never even realized.
Right. I definitely agree with you on all points.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a neighborhood that has, and we talked about that last week, that essentially has been erased. Black people don't really, that neighborhood is no longer really there at all. And yes, black people
No.
do live in South Tampa. Don't get me wrong. We live
Yes,
there,
we
but
do.
as far as like you seeing old families, like that old money, that old, those old family lines, keeping those homes in their family, no. And then there's an argument of well, the family sold it, so that's not got anything, doesn't have anything to do with me. But there's also the argument of taxes that have been raised, and things
Absolutely.
things that are put in place that push black people out of neighborhoods, and that's what effectively has happened in that area,
Yes.
in Hyde Park, in the Hyde Park area. So
Absolutely. When the value of the land around you is so high, I mean, there's a real kind of, there's a lot of external forces at play that keep you from being able to hold on to generational land. I mean,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's outside of your control, and the less educated you are, when you don't have that level of financial literacy and planning and the foresight of a Curtis Dobie, then you don't realize all the planning that needs to go in place, establishing trust and things like that in order to be able to protect
Right.
the land.
And that's a
So
big thing you just said, the education and the planning. By the time a lot of people get older, you're talking over their heads, and if the kids don't even
yes,
know, they don't realize what's going on. Next thing you know, their mama done lost their house. Like it happens. This
it
happens
happens.
all the time, and it happened. It
It's
has already
happening.
happened
It's
already.
happening.
So
Yes.
it is happening. Um,
Yes.
so we and to that note, I want to move us over into a notable character that who played a significant role in shaping downtown Tampa. Who would be somebody that you think shaped that area? I know you mentioned Curtis Dobie shaped Dobieville. What about in downtown Tampa? Who were some notable characters, or a character that stands out to you?
Now, okay, so again, this is like piggybacking off of other conversations that we had, but when I really think about it, I mean, Black women kind of really were responsible for a lot when it comes to what downtown Tampa is. Not only are we talking about, the Dorcases, we're talking about Dorcas Bryant and Dorcas Walker, who owned so much land over towards that Union Station area, I mean, they own acres and acres of land, the two of them. These are two women that remembered slavery. They remembered it,
Right.
either I based on what I read, I think both of them might have been children of masters. Did
So
you
Dorcas
suss that
and
part? Oh
Dorcas.
wait, not Dorcas Bryant. So Dorcas Bryant, supposedly her children might have been fathered by the master, but I think
Yes, yes, yes. That's a
yes,
definite yes.
yes. And then Dorcas Walker, I think I read something where it kind of described her.
Okay.
Um, but I'm not sure. But these are two women that
Yeah.
saw slavery,
Yeah.
experienced it either personally or it directly adjacent. They were there,
Yeah.
and so they were able to amass a lot of land.
Yeah.
And then you have the story of Madame Fortune Taylor, and so just in these three Black women,
Yeah.
a significant portion of downtown Tampa was owned by Black women. That is something we need to know.
Yeah.
That we all should know. I mean, like, Black women been holding it down for a long time. And so I think that's like probably one of the most surprising things that I've learned during my own research is that, what, not only were they Black, they were single, because Madame Fortune Taylor, she was married, but then she was widowed, single. But then as women, because you just didn't have a lot of women landowners back then. But still, all three of them in that status were able to be owners of a significant tracts of land in the downtown area.
Yes. And if you're looking at percentage wise, that's a big deal because um downtown Tampa was a residential piece of land, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and not many of them I don't think were owned by like, women in general at all. So like if you're looking
At
at
all.
percentage wise, like, Dorcas Bryant over here has 33 acres, and not 30, sorry, Madam Fortune Taylor has like around 33 acres, and then
Yes.
you have the Dorcases Dorcas Bryant and Dorcas Walker, who owned land around Union Station. They owned however many acres of land themselves. That's a good, like you said, a great percentage of downtown, that downtown
Yes.
area. It was not the whole downtown. I know
No.
that's a conversation people would have. I would love to talk about, like, disseminating myths about Black
Yes.
history in Tampa. Somebody actually just told me they thought that Plant High School was named after Plantation High School. I said no, it's named after
Oh.
Henry Plant, who bought the railroad station. But I was
Oh.
like, but it was a predominantly white school. I'd see where they were going with it, but that's not what it was
Oh.
named after. It was
Okay.
not
I
named
get
after
it.
Plantation.
Plant. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's many rumors out, but no, Black people did not own all of downtown Tampa, but they owned a great portion on the outskirt of where downtown where Tampa used to be, and I mean, we're calling it
Right.
downtown Tampa. It was back in that time. It was just Tampa. That's
Right.
all it was, and
That's it.
those women, like I said, those women, those are some people, those some notable characters from back then, and I love how I love calling them characters. I don't know why. I feel like it's like a story,
It
like
is.
even today in Tampa, there are some characters, and I'm interviewing them now, like you, like people that are going to go down in history, like people that are documenting history, the ones that are at the city hall meetings, the ones that are outspoken, the ones that are
Absolutely.
documenting history, the ones that are
Fact.
juggernauting different spaces and championing different spaces in Tampa's Black community. And we're going to be able to look back at this, like, 200 years from now or 100 years from now, and they're like, look at this stuff they're doing,
Yes.
this is history in the making. So I think it's really important that we just like DB McKay noted those characters back then, that
You did.
we map out who our characters are in this
Yes.
generation. And I see a lot of people actually, and it's funny. I see a lot of, and we're talking about notable characters. I almost see a lot of organizations like, we have the NAACP, we have Asala, we have Urban League, we have Tampa History Center, we have all these different entities that are
Mhm.
sharing Tampa's Black history, and they are almost looking for somebody to pass the torch to, that is a younger
Oh,
generation,
wow. Absolutely.
that
Yes.
is like, and I'm seeing that, like, I'm seeing, like,
Yes.
if you never met Miss Lily, she's over OGS, the African American
Genealogical.
genealogical and
Mm-hmm.
historic society, or something like that. And I don't want to get it wrong, don't quote me. But she's the president of that, but I know she, like, her wheels are turning. She's like, who do I pass this to,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that's so important, that these people that are over these organizations are actively looking for people that have that same passion that they have now, or they once had, and they're passing it to this next person that wants to work with others so that they can move this narrative forward. And I think that's really important, that young people that are interested in Black history, put yourself in those spaces.
Yes.
If you really are and you want to do the work, put yourself in those spaces. If you love being politically involved and you want to be a part of an organization or a movement, go
Be
join
involved.
NAACP. If you love genealogy, go join
Mm-hmm.
OGS. If you love what is Urban League? Urban League is more so, it's involved with political awareness and the youth, and just make people are prepared for life. That's the Urban League. So, if you're interested in those things, go get involved with them, because those are
Yes.
national organizations, and they have amazing networks that will help you further yourself in whatever industry you're in. So, when we're talking about
Absolutely.
these characters, I feel like these characters are among us today, and it's cool that we're able to designate and say, we know this man's coming to this meeting, he's about to raise Cain about whatever.
Yes.
Like, I watch the city hall meetings, girl. I watch these city hall meetings, and I am on the floor laughing. Like, they are hilarious. Have you ever
Mm-hmm.
watched the city hall? If y'all don't watch city hall meetings, they are on Thursday. They start at, like, I want to say 8 or 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, I want to say. Go watch these city hall meetings, honey. They like keep you very informed. You can watch them on YouTube. Somebody told me there's a Zoom, but you can watch them on YouTube for free. If you're working, just put them on as background noise and just listen to what's going on. Stay informed, and these notable characters are going to make themselves known, and they're going to go to these meetings. Like, y'all have to watch this.
It kind of, when you're talking, it reminds me, like, is it like an episode of Parks and Rec? Have you ever watched
Yes!
Parks and Rec? Like, the people, like, they're going to come to the meeting.
Yes!
And they're gonna say their point, whether it's on topic or not. You're going to hear me.
Yes.
You're going to hear me.
Girl, when I tell you, it's
mad at it.
It's something else. Like, it's not as entertaining as Eric Mays. Eric Mays will forever go down in history. Forever go down in history. It's the most entertaining city councilman ever. But the people Tampa is something else, and they just, I just love it. I wish
you say? Tampa gonna be Tampa.
Tampa is gonna be Tampa. Gonna Tampa.
Tampa
is going Tampa. It don't matter what day it is, what time it is. They're going Tampa, and you just gotta let it happen. You just gotta watch it. You just gotta watch the Tampa happen and let it happen.
Let it play out.
Let it play.
Yes.
Let the music play.
Tampa going Tampa.
Tampa is going Tampa. My next question is, what is a long-standing Black-owned business in downtown Tampa, and how has it impacted the local economy and culture of Tampa?
I think that kind of it's kind of tough when you think about traditional businesses, the Black businesses, because when you go through the record, there were quite a few Black businesses in downtown Tampa, especially during the period of after Reconstruction, during the Reconstruction period, all the way up until kind of really the height of Jim Crow. There were Black businesses in downtown Tampa. Of course, you had more that were along Central Avenue. J.H. Hill, he owned a tailor shop there in downtown, right off of, Franklin and Twiggs for 30 years. But that business isn't there anymore. And so when I really think about it, you kind of say like the most long-standing type business in the Black community or in downtown is churches. I mean, these are churches that, as nonprofits, they fulfilled their mission. Not only did they provide Christian uplifting and unity and fellowship, but they also raised money that put people through college, sold dinners, fed and clothed, and a lot of times would help to buy land or support like a land effort. It was the church that helped to, and all its members that helped to buy the land and fulfill the idea of the Tampa Harlem School. So that is a business. It has to function with its deacons, its pastor, its congregation, its shareholders, So I think the Black church in downtown has been the churches have been consistent. And they may not all be, like St. Paul's is not, it's not there up in running anymore, but still the churches and that long-standing congregation has been able to function as a business for generations.
I have to do a round two. We're going to have to do like a round two at the Brown Sugar event. The Brown Sugar live podcast. That's
that's it. We're going to drink. It'll be like Drink Champs.
Yes. Yes.
We're going to be on mimosas.
Girl, don't play with me. From the OG spots on Central Avenue to the latest vibes, we're chatting with historians, creatives, everyday legends, and their descendants. Follow this page, hit play, and let's make Tampa Black history together. This is Ashley Morrow signing off. Thank you so much for joining us, Jamila.
Yes, thanks for having me, Ashley. Drink Champs.